Welcome back to part 2 of the May Intention Box Unboxing. I'm Ashley, the founder here at Cloth and Paper.
I'm Nate, lead senior designer.
And I'm Taylor, head of product. I think we want to start chatting about the mood board. What did you love about this mood board? What did you want to see from the products in the May box? What were our thoughts?
Well, I was inspired by a recent trip that I took to New York.
Yeah.
Went to a gallery and I hadn't been to one in a very, very long time. And so I was just like, I felt overwhelmed by actually seeing people enjoying like physical experience that was outside of just like their phones and things like that, because I feel like in Richmond we don't get to see that very often. So just seeing people in a busy city like New York really enjoying and really embracing like this really tactile experience was inspiring. And I'm like, I need to do a box that is centered in like touch, feel, like being centered in something that's like rooted in design but also like recentering. So I wanted to take inspiration from that visit from the museum, and that's where some of these pictures come in. So this is actually a photo that I took out one of the exit doors. This was an installation that was on the floor. So I'm very inspired by the shapes and the colorways and just the overall cleanness of the presentation of this particular museum. But then also just like the pops of color that we've been integrating. I've been loving this. The shade of red is just like my shade of red. I love that red orange. And I was like trying to figure out a way that I can bring this in subtly. I didn't want to do the bright neon orange. I was like, let me just add a little red to it and kind of still do a nod to the exit side. And love the shape and the patterns that you see a lot through museums with like the directional signs and things like that, and thought that would make for a beautiful composition of a subbox.
I think when we saw that, like this mood board, we were like, wow, this is a stunning mood board. And it fits so nicely with the theme, being that it's about nostalgia, using paper to simplify your life. It's really cool to see such a busy museum, but then all these little directional elements making it clean and simple and easy.
I think a museum is where you go for nostalgic things too, or analog things. Like everything you find in a museum is human-centered, and I think that is something that we try to keep in mind when we're creating products as well.
So with this, we really wanted to tie in Ashley's initial idea of turning your planner into like the look and feel of a gallery. So we have like a few nods to that, especially on the HP Classic notebook with the arrows and the directory looking typography.
A warm welcome of this beautiful like orange red shade.
Yep, so you'll see the saffron color in this band holding the notebooks together and along the HP Classic cover. And then each one of these little notations are specific things you could do, like planning, tracking, sketching, and doodles. So it's very unique and meant to look and feel like the directional signs you would see in an art gallery.
So this was our first sample of this open stitch, perfect binding, undated daily planner.
So the first version, we were hoping to achieve kind of like this green hue, but it came out a little gray and not as impactful as we had hoped. So
we changed the Pantone, we selected and then worked with the vendor to find the right opacity level. So we landed on this really beautiful olive shade, and we think it just helps the notebook stand out a little bit more in the set.
We wanted this set to really be a celebration of notebooks of all different kinds. So we wanted to show 3 different bindings, and they're all kind of united by a similar interior texture. They all have this cream, like off-white, sturdy, smooth feel to it, and then they also all have white cover on each. We definitely like wanted a notebook of this size to be super effortless and functional, and I think that's why we went with this perfect bound stitch. It lays completely flat no matter what page that you're on. But we also wanted it to still feel like luxurious and sturdy and high grade. So I think through our sampling process, we realized like the best way to group and stitch the pages together. We started off with this sample where the cover sheet itself kind of had this indented detail to it, and it was glued on a completely different intro leaf to the binding. And so after some testing, we kind of realized that made the cover less sturdy, and it tears a little bit more easily. So with the final, we created a cover that is completely full bleed, attached directly to the pages themselves. So we think this is just a lot more tactile.
I think the other cool thing we changed between the samples, so the first sample, this was the only notebook that had this really beautiful creamy paper. And this paper is super cool because it's just so much smoother than paper you'll feel on the market. And originally we had this one with a very white paper stock. And so we made the decision that this paper is just so beautiful, we wanted to pull that creaminess throughout, and we ended up updating the spiral to include the exact same creamy paper throughout.
I feel like this almost feels like more archival too, like something that you would have experienced like a long time ago, rather than like this feels very like fresh and new, and I feel like this is kind of correlates to our nod to analog that we're trying to reminisce on.
Yeah, and the nostalgia of the theme that we're going for.
Absolutely.
Keep in mind with all of this is that we want all of these notebooks to meet every part of your planning needs and teen. So we have your monthly overview in this first set. We have your dated daily, which is covering your weeks. And then we also have an open-ended book. And I think that, considering the visual team art gallery and turning your planner into an art gallery, I think there's a lot of like analogies that we tried to show like with how these are made. So not only are we like taking visual cues from that inspiration, but we're also trying to offer tools and accessories that support that. I think a big theme with a gallery is how a space is curated, the different art and like very like personalized humanistic things that you'll find in different spaces in a gallery. And I think that's what we encourage replicating here, is that like how you use the spaces in your planner is very much like a curated process. Your planning routine, the things that you write inside of it, that really is the art. And we just make sure that, we have like a space that feels finished and refined and modern, like a gallery would.
I think I would go for this guy. I think Nate did such a beautiful job creating such a functional layout that you can use so many different ways. With the time blocking, where you can just write over it and do long lists. You can create new columns if you want, or again, like I said, not use them at all. So I think this just came out really nice, and the tint makes it, I think what makes it so versatile is how beautiful and light the tint is.
Yeah. So when we're reviewing samples, we look at the quality of the experience, does it match, is all cohesive? And this is one of the products that we had to go through a couple iterations of, and showing this was the final, but this was the initial sample that we received. It was kind of leaning towards the color of the original sleeve, the original sleeve color, but that against the paper looked a little just dingy and dull. So we didn't quite love that experience, so we just went with true, just clear with white text, so it just made it a little bit more modern and timeless. And we did a set of 3. We thought, how can we make these really functional elements for products that are both in this sub box and also products that are already in your collection? And so the set of 3 includes one for a spiral, which would work in that one, and then one for any sort of perfect bound or bound book in general, and this one has a little bit more decorative print. So then you can pop that one in your planner, and then you would get one that is your size. So a nice set of 3 bookmarks, and they really just went through a slight visual change, but ended up in a really like functional and aesthetic place.
I would say that was definitely the most challenging products of everything that we made, is trying to keep the same size for size tab that works, that can be sold as a set, but also works great for every single punch variation. And all these punches have varying widths and sizes, and so it took a good amount of trial and error to make sure that that was done correctly and functionally.
Another like nice note is we do think about this sizing really strategically. Like we have page pins in this box. How can we create a bookmark that'll allow you to add your page pins for quick access? So really getting that sizing right was important to us.
And then you have to think about the pocket size. You have to think about HP Classic and if the experience is going to be the same shared experience between all the sizes. So there's all these things that we have to think about when our product is being designed. And so Nate does a great job of considering all those things, and all of you that may be using either pocket or like our larger size HP Classic.
Yeah, this was definitely an experiment for us. Originally, we wanted to include a set of journaling cards to support all the notebooks in the box. And then we saw this one inspiration or inspo photo of a gallery that had artwork printed on these like thin transparent sheets of like hanging curtains. And it looked really cool. The typography and the descriptions of the art like looked the same way as it would on the wall. We thought that would be a cool way to keep the set of journaling cards that we were going for, but also like incorporate the theme. This journaling card set is made of vellum, and you know, it starts with kind of like the theme of the description and photos that you'll find in the set, which is the word nostalgia, a time period where a lot of people are doing digital planning. More and more it starts to feel like notebooks and things that you would find in like a gallery is more
Lost art, right?
Yeah.
Something to be discovered.
Yeah, exactly. And so as you pull apart this journaling card, you have 6 different panels of individual pieces of or individual quotes that stitch together to create one story about that exact concept. So love the way that they look when they are unfolded, and there's, you know, different compositions in every single fold and opening. I think that they would look great in your planner pockets, so they can be taken apart. All of the corners are perf cut, and at the end of the day, if this is, you know, a piece that well with the theme, because it could be stood up and it kind of looks like an art gallery. It looks like varying walls, and
like you can almost walk through this
Mhm.
experience right there.
Yeah, exactly.
This one was a little trickier for production because we wanted to create a thick enough vellum that it obviously could create this accordion effect, but also if you wanted to, you could perforate it and you have individual journaling cards. So a lot of the decisions we had to make, like for example, this one falls apart a little too easily. So we had to determine how wide each one of these perforations are so that it doesn't fall apart as you're opening and closing it, but it's still easy to separate into individual cards if you would like to.
Yeah, so we just wanted to keep that layered look, as if everything is you know, being bundled up in a past fashion sort of way. And so we thought this was a great opportunity to include the barcode that's needed on this product, and as well as the pop of color that we're including. So
It almost feels like the gallery guides that you get when you actually enter an art space.
Mhm.
Like they'll give you like the map and how to walk through. It feels like that's the map that we're giving them to guide them through this experience. So, okay, stickers. Do you want to talk about stickers quickly?
Yeah, I think we got these right on the first try.
You really can't have like this museum visual theme without having some directional arrows in the box. So I love that we've integrated these.
I think this is great. This is a great tool to create that table of contents or directory in your planner, like the way that you would see in a gallery. I think you could create something similar to the cover of the HP Classic notebook included, where there might be an arrow, and then you could use the rectangles to write the actual topic of that section of your planner. The arrows would do great for bullet journaling, highlighting dates. And yeah, the icons are representative of what we feel like everyone's most common planner sections are. There's a phrase that you said when you're putting together this mood board, and I think it was a like return to analog. I think that really stuck with me, and when creating these notebooks, like we really wanted to embrace like the physical, and I think the best way to do that is to explore different materials and layering and you know, really celebrate the beauty of notebooks and binded forms of planning. So in this notebook set, I think we tried to do that. There's like a ton of different materials from bungee to plastic to metal to paper. But this being a celebration of notebooks, we wanted to show 3 different ways of binding. So we have a spiral, we have a perfect bound notebook, and then we also have this folded kind of bungee cord. But at the end of the day, despite the themes and the messaging, we still want to make this a cloth and paper product. So we coordinated all of the colors of the pages and the colors of the covers, and really wanted it to still feel like cloth and paper at its core.
So while we integrated that pop of orange red, we still kind of made sure to do that in like tasteful, classic ways that wasn't overwhelming to whoever may be receiving it, and very particular with just overall finishing and making sure like the principles that we're guided by, like layering, were integrated in a lot of the products. You guys know that we are really into layering and making sure products work together interchangeably, and so that's something that I feel like you always make sure that is grounded with our design. So this is no different, but yeah, very excited about this, and the overall just the output of this box, my favorite. I'm saying it on record, it's my favorite box today for sure. So
it's awesome. Yeah, I think this was just a nice deep dive into the mood board and what we pulled from Ashley's inspiration and some of the important features we wanted to showcase throughout the box. But overall, we're really excited about the product selection. I think it's our favorite box ever. Pretty cool to say, but can't wait to see what everybody thinks.
What about you? You've been designing here for 3 years. Is this your favorite box ever?
Oh yeah, I think this is the most refined box we've come out with over the last 3 years. I think we've really been trying to push like materials and different types of planning methods, and this really is a representation of like all of the knowledge that we've gained. And I really think that we created something that we're all super proud of, and we think are going to help people's daily planning.
Very proud of this. So stay tuned for part 3. We're going to walk everyone through a little bit more
Yep.
of how to use these notebooks and a little bit more into the binding and details of that. So stay tuned for part 3.